Welcome to Lesson 1-4, Day 2, Dividing Decimals by Decimals. Today we're going to talk about how to divide decimals by decimals and how to solve problems involving dividing decimals by decimals. Alright, so dividing decimals by decimals follows much the same process as the dividing decimals by whole numbers did, with just one or two technically extra little steps. So first we set the problem up as long division. As always, the first number gets to walk in the door first and get into the party, while the second number has to wait patiently. The next step, and this is the most confusing part, you have to move the decimal on the outside until it gets to the door. So if you want to think of it as the decimal being in line to get into the party, the decimal cuts in front of all the rest of the numbers to get to the front door. Okay, again, you can be showing this as I go, each different step that they show here. The next step, move your decimal on the inside as many times as you moved it on the outside. So if the decimal moved one place like it did here, then it has to move one place here. Then I can go ahead and divide. So I put up my chairs for my guests. And some people like to leave a little open spot and bring the decimal up right away. That's absolutely fine, as long as you make sure to bring it straight up. 12 can't go into 3, so we subtract, bring down the 3, 36. 12 goes into 36 3 times, minus 36 is 0, bring down the 0. 12 goes into 0 0 times, 0 minus 0 is 0, so my answer in this case is 3. Alright, so let's practice this a little bit, because we practiced the long division yesterday. Now I want to make sure that we make sure to move the decimal as much as we're supposed to. So how many places do you move the outside decimal? We're going one at a time, so I want you to count and figure out how many times do I move this outside decimal. If you said 3 places, you are correct. So I move that the outside decimal 3 places. So now I want to know how many places do I move the inside decimal. If you said 3 places, you are correct. Okay, I know that here it would be 1, 2, 3, and then a lot of times students like to say 1, 2, but you can't. You have to move it that third time, and in order to do that, we have to add a 0. So this new problem becomes 3,456 on the outside and 7,340 on the inside. Okay, how many places do we move the decimal on the outside for this problem? If you said 2 places, you would be correct. Okay, 1, 2. So how many places do we move it on the inside? If you said 2 places, you would be correct. So even though there's 2 more places to move, we don't continue to move those 2 places. We only move as many places on the inside as we did on the outside. Alright, so now I want you to try the problem. I would actually go ahead and do the first 3 steps and then come back and check your answer before you go through and actually do the division. So make sure you set everything up, move the decimal correctly before you start to divide. So go ahead and pause and try that now. Alright, so the first thing you would do is you would set up the problem with 42 and 3/10 getting into the party first, and 0 and 12/100 staying on the outside. We then move the decimal on the outside 2 places to the left. So this becomes 0. And actually we can take the 0 off now because that decimal is gone. Okay, and I would show these steps at the beginning just to make sure we're doing everything correctly. Then I need to move that decimal another 2 places on the inside, just like I did on the outside. So my new problem becomes 12 on the outside, 4,230 because we have to add that extra 0 on the inside. Now I'd like you to practice your long division on your own, and when you come back, we'll check your answer. Alright, so I put up a box for each of my spots. Now notice, I did a bad job with my boxes. It looks a little bit iffy, so there's this magic thing called an eraser, and we try again. You want to make sure to keep everything as neat and organized as possible so you don't make a mistake with where that decimal goes. In this case, remember our decimal is at the end. So 12 cannot go into 4, so we get 0. 12 goes into 42 3 times. 3 times 12 is 36. 12 minus 6 is 6. Bring down the 3. 12 goes into 63 5 times, minus 60. Bring down the 0. 12 goes into 30 2 times. 2 times 12 is 24. 30 minus 24 gives me 6. So now what do I do here? I don't just stop. I add a 0 and I add a chair for my 0. I bring that 0 down. I apologize for the confusing placement, but I ran out of space. 12 goes into 60 5 times. 5 times 12 is 60. 60 minus 60 is 0. And don't forget to bring that decimal straight up. So my answer should have been 352 5/10. Remember, just because we had that leftover 6 doesn't mean we put remainder 6. We keep dividing until we get our solid answer. Alright, so what you're going to do here, we will do this problem together, and then this problem will be your post to Edmodo. Okay. So the important information here, 5 friends share an extra large pizza and a liter of Pepsi at Domino's. The total cost is $23.75. How much does each friend owe for the bill? Okay, so the important information in this case would be that there's 5 friends. That is important because we're dividing the total cost. The total cost is important, and of course the question is important. So we know that the total cost was $23.75. We need to divide that cost among the 5 friends since we're going to see how much each person owes. So if we multiplied that by 5, that would mean each person would be spending over $23, and that's not what we're looking for. So we're going to take that $23.75 and divide it by the 5 friends. Okay, again, the $23.75 gets to go into the party first. And we put up the chairs for all of our guests. I'm going to bring up my decimal right away just to make it easy on myself. And 5 stays outside. Now, since 5 is a whole number, we don't have to move any decimals, which is nice. So we just get to start our long division. Okay, 5 cannot go into 2, so we put the 0. 5 times 0 is 0. 2 minus 0 is 2. Bring down the 3. We have 23. We can make 4 groups of 5 with 23 pieces. 4 times 5 is 20. 23 minus 20 is 3. Bring down the 7. 5 goes into 37 7 times. So you can look at this one of 2 ways. 37 divided by 5, what's the whole number that you get? Or you have 37 pieces, how many groups of 5 can you make? However it works for you is fine by me, as long as you make sure that you're putting these pieces in the correct place and using them in the correct order. 7 times 5 is 35. Subtract, you get 2. Bring down the 5. 5 goes into 25 5 times. Subtract, you do 25. So your answer is each friend owes $4.75. Right, so here's your problem for Edmodo. Please read it, highlight the important information, and I want you to give me, yes, your expression. So this is one part of it, and then your answer is the second part of it. Make sure to show all of your work in your notebook, so that way if you have a question or if you have an incorrect answer, we can go over it in class tomorrow. As always, if you have any questions, please post them to Edmodo so we can go over them in class tomorrow.